The Velthari warship hung in the darkness of space like a metal mountain. Its commander, High Warlord Kethson, stood at the observation window and watched the small blue planet spin slowly below. Earth, the humans called it. Such a simple name for what would soon become the newest territory of the Velthari Empire. "Status report," Kethson demanded. His voice was deep and carried the authority of a being who had conquered 11 worlds. "All systems ready, High Warlord," replied his second-in-command, a younger Velthari named Drex. "The fleet awaits your order, 47 warships, over 2 million soldiers. The humans have nothing that can stop us." Kethson's 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the planet. The Velthari were tall beings, standing nearly 3 meters high, with thick gray skin that could stop most projectile weapons. They had ruled their section of the galaxy for over 1,000 years. They had never lost a war. The very idea of defeat was foreign to them. "What do we know about these humans?" Kethson asked. Drex pulled up data on his tablet. "They are a young species, High Warlord. They have only been traveling in space for less than 200 of their years. Their technology is primitive compared to ours. Their weapons cannot pierce our armor. Their ships are slow and weak. They have no unified government, which makes them even easier to control. And their population? Approximately 8 billion individuals spread across their planet. They have small colonies on their moon and the 4th planet in their system. Nothing significant. By our standards, they are barely out of their caves." Kethson nodded. This would be an easy conquest. The Velthari had done this many times before. They would destroy the major military installations, capture the leaders, and within a few months, the humans would be working in Velthari mines and factories like all the other conquered species. It was a pattern they had followed on 11 worlds, and it had never failed. "Begin the invasion," Kethson ordered. The Velthari fleet moved toward Earth. Their massive ships blocked out the stars as they descended through the atmosphere. Human military forces scrambled to respond, but their missiles bounced harmlessly off Velthari shields. Their jets were swatted from the sky like insects. Nuclear weapons were launched in desperation, but the Velthari had encountered such primitive devices before, and their shields absorbed the explosions easily. The first landing occurred in the region humans called Europe. Velthari soldiers poured out of their transports, their heavy boots crushing the grass beneath them. They expected fear. They expected surrender. They expected what every other species had given them when faced with such overwhelming force. What they found was different. A human soldier, young and small compared to the Velthari, stood alone in a field. He held a weapon that looked like a toy against the massive invaders. Around him lay the bodies of his fallen comrades, killed in the initial bombardment. His uniform was torn and covered in blood, some of it his own. He should have been terrified. He should have been running. "Surrender, human," a Velthari soldier commanded. "Your resistance is meaningless. You cannot win. Put down your weapon and you will be treated well." The human soldier looked at the bodies of his friends. He looked at the aliens who had killed them. And then he did something that confused the Velthari completely. He smiled. "You have no idea what you just started," the human said. Before the Velthari could respond, the human charged, not away from them but toward them. He knew he would die. He knew his weapon could not hurt them. But he charged anyway, screaming words in his language that the Velthari translators interpreted as, "for my brothers." The Velthari killed him quickly. It was not even a fight. A single shot and he was down. But something about the encounter bothered the soldiers who witnessed it. Why had he attacked when he knew he would lose? What purpose did it serve? No rational being would throw away their life so pointlessly. They had no time to think about it. There was a planet to conquer. Over the next several weeks, the Velthari swept across Earth. City after city fell to their superior firepower. Millions of humans died in the initial attacks. World governments collapsed or surrendered. Military bases were destroyed. The humans who survived fled to the countryside, hiding in forests and mountains and caves. It seemed like the war would be over within a month, just as the analysts had predicted. But then something strange started to happen. In the ruins of destroyed cities, Velthari soldiers began to disappear, not in battle but quietly in the night. A patrol would go out with 10 soldiers and return with 8, then 6, then none at all. The missing soldiers were never found. It was as if the earth itself had swallowed them. "What is happening?" Kethson demanded from his command ship. "We are not certain, High Warlord," Drex reported, his voice uncertain for the first time since the invasion began. "The humans appear to be fighting in ways we have not encountered before. They are not facing us in open battle. They are hiding, attacking from shadows, targeting our soldiers when they are alone or in small groups." "Then do not let them be alone," Kethson said. "Send larger patrols, increase security measures." "We have, High Warlord. The larger patrols are being attacked as well. The humans are using explosive devices hidden in roads, in buildings, in the bodies of their own dead. They are sacrificing themselves to kill even one of our soldiers. They seem to consider it a fair trade." Kethson felt the first touch of something he had not experienced in decades: concern. "Show me the reports," he said. What he saw over the next hour changed his understanding of humans completely. In one recording, a human female had walked up to a Velthari checkpoint. She was carrying a small child in her arms. The soldiers had scanned her for weapons and found nothing. They had let her pass. 3 seconds later, she exploded. The bomb had been hidden inside her own body. She had killed herself and her child to take out 5 Velthari soldiers. The footage was difficult to watch, even for hardened warriors. In another recording, a group of human males had driven a vehicle filled with explosives into a Velthari transport ship. They had been killed instantly, but they had taken the ship and everyone on it with them. They had been laughing as they drove toward death. In yet another, a human had spent 3 days crawling through a sewer system, through human waste and darkness, just to emerge behind Velthari lines and kill a single officer before being cut down. He had crawled through filth for 72 hours to kill one person, and he had died with a smile on his face. "This is madness," Drex whispered. "They cannot hope to win this way. Why do they keep fighting?" One of the intelligence officers, an older Velthari named Morvex who had studied many species across his long career, stepped forward. "High Warlord," he said, "I believe I have found something important. May I share my research?" "Speak," Kethson commanded. "I have been studying human history," Morvex said. "Their records go back thousands of years, and in all that time they have been at war with themselves constantly. They fight over territory, over resources, over ideas, over perceived insults, over things so small they barely make sense. They are perhaps the most violent species I have ever encountered." "We knew they were primitive," Drex said dismissively. "Fighting among themselves is common for undeveloped species. They will grow out of it once we bring them civilization." "That is not my point," Morvex continued. "My point is what they do after they fight. High Warlord, the humans have a concept that appears in every single culture on their planet. It is so central to their nature that they have built entire systems of law and religion around it. It appears in their art, their stories, their very language." "What concept?" Kethson asked. Morvex paused. The word was hard to translate directly into the Velthari language, but he did his best. "Vengeance," he said. "The humans call it vengeance. It means that when someone hurts them, they do not simply try to make the hurting stop. They try to hurt the one who harmed them back, not for any practical purpose, not to gain advantage, simply to cause pain to the one who caused them pain. They consider it justice. They consider it honor. They consider it their right." Kethson tilted his head. "All species fight back when attacked. That is survival instinct." "No, High Warlord. You do not understand. This is something different, something deeper. Let me show you examples from their history. Morvex brought up images and records on the main display. In one of their ancient conflicts, a human nation was attacked without warning. The attackers destroyed a portion of their military fleet. In response, the attacked nation did not simply defend themselves. They did not simply push back the attackers. They developed a weapon of such terrible power that it could destroy entire cities with a single device. And they used it. Twice. They killed hundreds of thousands of enemy civilians, including women and children, to end the war. They turned cities to ash and poisoned the land for generations. Drex made a sound of disgust. Barbaric. There is more, Morvex said. In another conflict, a human leader was killed by members of a rebellious group. The humans who supported him did not capture the rebels and put them on trial. They hunted them, across the entire planet, for years, decades. They spent enormous resources finding every single person connected to the killing and executing them. Some were found and killed 30 years later, living quiet lives in distant countries. The humans never forgot. They never stopped looking. They never gave up. Kethson's eyes narrowed. Continue. This pattern repeats throughout their entire history, Morvex said. When the humans feel they have been wronged, they do not calculate the cost of revenge against the benefit. They simply seek it, at any price. A human will destroy their own life, their own family, their own future just to harm someone who harmed them first. They consider it justice. They consider it honor. They consider it their sacred duty. They have songs about it. They have religions about it. Their children play games about it. The command room was silent. What does this mean for our conquest? Kethson finally asked. Morvex looked directly at the High Warlord. High Warlord, I believe it means that we cannot conquer this species. Not truly. We can occupy their planet. We can control their cities. We can kill their leaders and destroy their armies. But they will never stop fighting. Not today. Not in a year. Not in 100 years. Every soldier we kill will be remembered. Every wrong we commit will be written down. And their descendants will continue the fight until we are destroyed or they are completely extinct. And based on their history, I am not certain even extinction would stop them. These humans would find a way to fight us from beyond death if they could. Kethson spent 3 days reviewing the intelligence reports. What he found disturbed him more with each passing hour. The humans had a phrase that appeared in many of their cultures in different languages but with the same meaning. An eye for an eye. It meant that whatever was done to them, they would do back. If you took their eye, they would take yours. If you killed their family, they would kill yours. If you destroyed their city, they would destroy yours. But it was worse than that. The humans did not believe in equal exchange. Their history showed a clear pattern of escalation. When attacked, they did not simply respond in kind. They responded with greater force. They invented new weapons. They found new ways to cause destruction. They pushed the boundaries of what was possible just to hurt their enemies more effectively. In one of their world wars, they had started with soldiers fighting with simple weapons and horses. By the end, they had created bombs that could level entire cities, weapons that poisoned the land for generations, and methods of killing so efficient that millions died in organized extermination camps. They had advanced their killing technology by centuries in just a few years, all because they wanted to destroy their enemies more completely. And the most terrifying thing Kethson learned was that the humans had done all of this to each other, to members of their own species, to beings they shared a planet with. If they were willing to do such things to their own kind, what would they do to aliens who had invaded their world and killed their families? A communication came from the surface. One of his field commanders, a veteran named Thrak, had requested permission to speak directly with the High Warlord. "Report, Commander Thrak," Kethson said. Thrak's image appeared on the screen. The veteran looked troubled. His usually confident posture was bent, and his eyes kept darting to the side. "High Warlord, I must inform you of an incident that occurred today. One of my lieutenants captured a human settlement. The humans resisted, so he ordered the execution of all adult males as punishment. This is standard procedure," as you know. What is the problem? The problem, High Warlord, is what happened next. The children of the executed males did not run. They did not cry. They did not beg for mercy. They stood in silence and watched. And when my lieutenant asked why they were not afraid, one of them, a young female barely old enough to speak properly, said something that our translators recorded. What did she say? Thrak's voice was quiet. She said, "We will remember your face, we will remember your name, we will find you. If not today, then tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then in 10 years. If not in 10 years, then our children will find your children. This is not over until we say it is over." Kethson felt cold, despite the warm air of his ship. That child was 5 years old, High Warlord, Thrak continued. She had just watched her father die, and her first thought was not grief or fear, it was revenge. She was already planning it, already committing our faces to memory, already teaching herself to hate. What did you do with her? My lieutenant wanted to execute her as well. I stopped him. I have seen what happens when you create martyrs among these humans. It only makes them fight harder. They turn the dead into symbols, into legends, into reasons to keep fighting. Kethson nodded slowly. You showed wisdom, Commander. What do you recommend? Thrak hesitated. High Warlord, I have conquered 6 worlds in my career. I have broken species that we thought could never be broken, but I do not know how to break these humans. Every action we take to suppress them seems to make them stronger. Every death we cause creates 10 new fighters. They are teaching their children to hate us before they can even walk. They sing songs about revenge to their bobbies. If we stay here, we will be fighting them forever. Are you suggesting we retreat, Commander? I am suggesting we consider it, High Warlord. The cost of holding this planet may exceed its value many times over. Kethson ended the communication. He stood at his window and looked down at the small blue planet that had seemed so easy to take. The next day, Morvex came to him with more research. I have been studying specific examples of human vengeance, High Warlord. I believe you need to see these. He began with a story from human history. A family had been murdered by criminals. One member of the family survived, a young male barely into adulthood. He spent the next 20 years preparing. He learned to fight. He learned to track. He learned to kill. He built himself into a weapon. And then he found the criminals one by one and killed them, not quickly. He took his time with each one. He wanted them to know why they were dying. He wanted them to feel the fear his family had felt. This is one individual, Kethson asked. Yes, High Warlord, and this story is considered heroic in human culture. They tell it to their children. They make entertainment about it. They celebrate this kind of behavior. They wish they could do the same. Morvex showed him another example. A group of humans had attacked a building and killed thousands of civilians in a surprise attack. In response, the nation those civilians belonged to did not simply hunt the attackers. They invaded 2 entire countries. They spent 20 years fighting. They killed hundreds of thousands of people who had nothing to do with the original attack. They spent trillions of their currency. They destroyed their own economy. Their own people died by the thousands in distant lands. And they considered it worth it because they had avenged their dead. The cost far exceeded any benefit, Morvex explained. By any logical calculation, they should have stopped, but they did not. They could not. Their need for vengeance overrode all rational thought. It consumed their entire society for a generation. And their people supported this. Overwhelmingly, High Warlord. Those who suggested stopping were called traitors. They were attacked, shamed, driven from public life. The desire for revenge was so strong that it became their entire society's focus for decades. They would have burned their own nation to the ground if it meant hurting their enemies. Kethson sank into his command chair. There is more, Morvex said. I have found something even more concerning. He brought up images of human literature and entertainment. Movies, books, games, songs, all celebrating the same theme. The humans do not simply practice vengeance, High Warlord, they worship it. Their heroes are not peacemakers. Their heroes are not builders or healers. Their heroes are avengers. Their most beloved stories are about individuals who were wronged and then spent their lives making the wrongdoers pay. This is not just behavior for them. It is culture. It is identity. It is what they consider the highest form of justice. They dream about revenge. They fantasize about it. They make it into art. They have no concept of forgiveness. They do, Morvex admitted. But in their history, forgiveness is rare and often considered weakness. Their saying, turn the other cheek, exists, but they rarely follow it. Their religions preach mercy, but their actions show wrath. Instead, they are more likely to quote another saying, revenge is a dish best served cold. This means they are willing to wait years, decades, even generations to take revenge. They do not forget. They do not move on. They simply wait for the right moment. Patience is a virtue to them, as long as it serves vengeance. Kethson looked at the data scrolling across his screens. Human history, human art, human psychology, all of it pointed to the same conclusion. These beings were not afraid of death. They were not afraid of pain. The only thing they seemed to fear was dying before they could take revenge. Their greatest tragedy was not death itself, but death before justice was served. We have killed millions of them, Kethson said slowly. Every single one of those deaths has created family members who now want revenge, children who watched their parents die, parents who lost their children, siblings, friends, lovers, all of them plotting against us. Yes, High Warlord. And these humans will teach their hatred to their offspring, who will teach it to their offspring. This will not end in our lifetime. It will not end in our children's lifetime. It may never end. Correct, High Warlord. And they are already developing new weapons. Our intelligence shows they are working on biological agents, on nuclear devices, on anything that can hurt us. They are studying our technology, learning from it, finding ways to turn it against us. Yes, they are remarkably creative when motivated by hatred. Their innovation increases dramatically during wartime. This has been true throughout their history. Kethson stood and walked to the window again. When the Rotharan tried to resist us, they fought for 3 years and then surrendered. When the Kelmari resisted, they held out for 7 years before accepting our rule. We thought those were long wars, but they ended. The conquered species accepted their defeat and became productive members of our empire. They moved on. The humans will not do this, Morvex said with certainty. No, they will not. And every year we occupy their planet, they will grow stronger. They will learn our technology. They will find our weaknesses, and eventually they will hurt us. Perhaps not badly at first, but they will never stop trying, not ever. Kethson was silent for a long moment. There is something else, High Warlord, Morvex said quietly. Something I hesitated to mention. Speak. The humans have already sent ships to other star systems. Small ships moving slowly but moving. They will take hundreds of years to arrive at their destinations, but they carry information, records, history. Everything we have done here is being documented and sent to the stars. Even if we destroy every human on this planet, some will survive on distant worlds, and they will remember. They will pass the stories down, and someday, in 100 years or 1,000, they will come for us. They will come for our children. They will come for our grandchildren. You cannot know that. I know their history, High Warlord. There is a human story about a city called Troy. It was destroyed thousands of years ago, before they had writing, before they had technology, just a small city in a small war, and yet the humans still tell stories about it today. They still remember the names of the warriors who fought there. They have turned it into legend. If they remember a city for that long, they will remember us forever. They will make songs about us, stories about us. They will keep the hatred alive for as long as their species exists. The Council of High Warlords met in the great chamber of the Velthari home world. The room was enormous, built to impress and intimidate, with pillars of black stone rising toward a ceiling so high it disappeared in shadow. Kethson had been summoned to explain the delays in the Earth campaign. He had expected to report victory. Instead, he had come to deliver a warning. "The humans cannot be conquered," he told the council. The chamber erupted in disbelief. Never in Velthari history had a high warlord said such words. The idea was absurd, impossible. The Velthari had conquered dozens of species. They had built an empire that spanned hundreds of worlds. They were the masters of this region of space. "Explain yourself," demanded Supreme Warlord Vecthan, the eldest and most powerful member of the council. He was ancient even by Velthari standards. His gray skin darkened with age, but his eyes were still sharp. Kethson presented everything: the suicide attacks, the endless resistance, the children being raised to hate before they could even speak properly, the human history of vengeance spanning thousands of years, the way they never forgot, never forgave, never stopped. He showed them recordings. He shared data. He quoted human literature. "They are individually weak," Kethson said. "Their technology is primitive. Their military is destroyed. By every measure we use, they are a defeated species. But they do not know they are defeated. They refuse to accept it. And as long as they refuse, the war continues. They have no word for surrender that they respect. In their language, giving up is shameful. Fighting to the death is glorious." "Then we will teach them otherwise," said Warlord Thren, a young and aggressive member of the council. "We will crush them until they cannot fight. We will break their spirit as we have broken so many others." "We have tried," Kethson replied. "Every death we cause creates more enemies. Every atrocity hardens their resolve. I have studied their history. Other humans have tried to break them. Empires have risen and fallen trying to conquer them. They have fought each other for all of their existence, and they have never in their entire history stopped fighting. They do not know how to stop. It is not in their nature." "All species can be broken," Thren insisted. "Perhaps, but at what cost?" Kethson activated a holographic display. "Our losses so far: 17,000 soldiers, 47 ships, and the humans have barely started fighting. They are still organizing, still learning, still building weapons. Our analysts project that within 10 years they will have developed technologies that can threaten our fleet. Within 50 years they will be capable of offensive operations against our other territories. Within 100 years, they will be a genuine threat to our empire." "Impossible," Thren said. "They are a primitive species." "They were primitive," Kethson corrected. "We have given them something they lacked before: motivation. They are now united in a way they have never been in their history. All of their intelligence, all of their creativity, all of their rage is now focused on a single goal: destroying us. And if their history is any guide, they will succeed or die trying. There is no third option for them." Supreme Warlord Vecthan raised a hand for silence. "You paint a dark picture, Kethson, but you have not told us what you recommend." Kethson took a deep breath. "I recommend withdrawal." The chamber exploded again. Withdrawal was unthinkable. The Velthari Empire had never retreated from a conquest. Their entire reputation was built on being unconquerable, unstoppable, inevitable. To retreat would shake the foundations of their power. "We cannot," Thren shouted. "Our reputation would be ruined. Every conquered species would see us as weak. There would be rebellions across the empire. Everything we have built would crumble." "There will be worse than rebellions if we stay," Kethson said. "The humans are not like other species. They are a contagion. Right now, the species we have conquered accept their fate because they believe resistance is futile. They believe they cannot win. But if they see the humans fighting and winning, even small victories, they will be inspired. The humans will become a symbol, a legend, proof that the Velthari can be challenged, proof that the Velthari can bleed." "Then we must destroy them completely," Thren said. "Leave nothing alive. Burn their planet to ash. Sterilize every colony. End them utterly." "We could," Kethson admitted. "But consider what that would mean. We would be using our most powerful weapons on a primitive species that cannot threaten us directly. We would be admitting that the only way to beat them is total annihilation. And even then we would miss some. They have colonies on distant moons. They have ships traveling to other stars. Some humans would survive, and they would tell the story of how the mighty Velthari Empire was so afraid of them that they had to destroy an entire world. That story would spread. It would inspire others. It would make us look weak, not strong. It would prove that we could be hurt. The council was silent. There is another option, Kethson said. We leave. We tell the galaxy that Earth is not worth conquering, not because we cannot take it, but because the resources required exceed the value. This is true. The humans have little that we need. Their planet is not strategically important. We took it only to add to our empire, not because we needed it for any practical purpose. And the humans, Vecthan asked. We leave them alone. We do not contact them. We do not threaten them. We pretend they do not exist. And perhaps in a few generations they will forget their hatred, or perhaps not, but at least we will not be making it worse. At least we will not be feeding the fire. Warlord Thren laughed bitterly. And what happens when they develop space travel, when they come looking for us, when they come for revenge? That will take centuries, Kethson said. By then, perhaps we will have found a way to coexist, or perhaps we will be strong enough to defend ourselves without starting a war of extermination. But if we continue now, we guarantee eternal conflict. If we leave, there is at least a chance for peace. A small chance, but a chance. The council debated for hours. Some wanted to continue the conquest, arguing that retreat would show weakness. Some wanted complete destruction, arguing that it was the only safe option. But Kethson's words had planted doubt in their minds, and slowly, reluctantly, they began to see his logic. The final vote was close, 12 in favor of withdrawal, 11 against, 1 abstention. The Velthari Empire would leave Earth. The withdrawal was announced 3 weeks later. The Velthari told the galaxy that Earth was a barren world with no value, not worth the cost of occupation. They claimed the humans had been exterminated and the planet left lifeless. It was a lie, but it preserved their reputation. Other species would never know what had really happened. The shame of the retreat would remain a secret. On Earth, the surviving humans watched the alien ships rise into the sky and disappear among the stars. They did not celebrate. They were too tired, too wounded, too filled with grief and rage to celebrate. Millions were dead. Cities were in ruins. The world they had known was gone forever. But they remembered. In the ruins of cities, they carved the names of the dead into stone. In underground bunkers, they stored records of everything that had happened. In schools rebuilt from rubble, they taught their children about the invasion, about the losses, about the hatred that must never be forgotten. A human leader named Maria Chen stood before the survivors and spoke words that would be remembered for generations. They came to conquer us, she said. They failed. They killed our families, destroyed our homes, and tried to break our spirit. They failed. And now they have fled. They think it is over. They think we will forget. They are wrong. She looked up at the stars, where the Velthari ships had vanished. We will rebuild. We will grow stronger. We will reach the stars. And when we find them, we will make them pay for every life they took. This is not over. This will never be over. Not until we say it is over. Not until every debt is paid. The crowd roared in agreement. In the decades that followed, humanity united in a way it never had before. The old divisions of nation and culture and race faded. There was only one identity now, human, and there was only one goal, the stars. They reverse-engineered the Velthari technology left behind in abandoned camps and crashed ships. They built engines faster than anything they had imagined possible. They developed weapons that could pierce Velthari armor. They created soldiers who were stronger, faster, and more ruthless than any who had come before. They made themselves into something new, something dangerous. And they never forgot. Every human child learned the history of the invasion. They learned the names of the fallen. They learned about the Velthari and what they had done. And they learned the most important lesson of all. The universe was dangerous, and the only way to survive was to be more dangerous than anyone else. Mercy was weakness. Forgiveness was foolishness. Only strength mattered. Only revenge was sacred. 100 years after the withdrawal, the first human warship entered Velthari space. The Velthari detected it immediately. Their sensors lit up with alarms. They prepared for battle, expecting an attack fleet. Instead, they found a single ship, unarmed according to their scans, carrying a message. A human ambassador stepped onto Velthari soil for the first time since the invasion. She was small compared to the Velthari, fragile-looking, easily broken. Her name was Elena Tors, and she was the descendant of survivors. Around her neck, she wore a pendant containing ash from a destroyed human city. But she walked among the massive aliens without fear. "We have come to talk," she said. The Velthari were confused. They had expected war. They had prepared for vengeance. They had spent a century waiting for the humans to come, building defenses, training soldiers. Instead, they were offered conversation. "Your ancestors invaded our world," the ambassador said. "They killed millions of our people. They destroyed our civilization. They murdered children in the streets, and then they left thinking it was over. We have spent 100 years preparing for this moment. We have built fleets that can darken your skis. We have developed weapons that can crack your worlds. We have trained armies that know no fear and seek no mercy. We could burn your worlds the way you burned ours." She paused. "But we choose not to." The Velthari supreme warlord, a descendant of those who had made the decision to retreat, leaned forward. "Why?" "Because we learned something in the last century. Vengeance is satisfying. We dreamed of it. We hungered for it, but it is not productive. If we destroy you, another species will rise to threaten us, and then another. There will always be enemies. There will always be wars, unless we choose a different path, unless we become something more than we were." "You would forgive us." The Supreme Warlord's voice was skeptical. The ambassador smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Her eyes were cold, hard, ancient with inherited grief. "No, we will never forgive you. We will never forget what you did. The hatred your ancestors earned will burn in human hearts forever. We carry the ashes of our dead around our necks. We name our children after the martyrs, but hatred and forgiveness are not the only options. There is also calculation, and we have calculated that peace is more valuable than vengeance. Barely, but enough." She placed a document on the table. "This is a treaty. It establishes permanent boundaries between our territories. It creates rules for trade and communication. It guarantees that neither species will attack the other. In exchange for your agreement, we will not destroy you. We will let you live. This is our offer. It is the only offer you will receive." The Supreme Warlord studied the document. "And if we refuse?" "Then we will do what we came here to do, what we have been preparing to do for 100 years. We will hurt you. Not to conquer you because we have learned that occupation is expensive and pointless, but to punish you, to make you pay for what your ancestors did. And when we are done, we will leave, and you will rebuild, and we will come back and do it again, and again, and again, until your species is extinct or you agree to our terms. We are patient. We can wait. We have been waiting for a century. We can wait for 10 more." The threat hung in the air like a blade. "Your ancestors thought we were weak because we were small. They thought we were primitive because our technology was simple. They thought they could break us because they had conquered others. They were wrong. The thing that makes us dangerous is not our size or our weapons. It is this." She pointed to her head. "We remember, we hold grudges. We pass our hatred down through generations. We are patient. We will wait centuries for revenge if we must, and we never ever give up. This is what your ancestors woke when they attacked us. This is what they created, and now you must live with the consequences." She leaned forward. "Your species lives for about 300 years, correct? Ours live for less than 100. But in that 100 years we accomplish more than you do in 300. We breed faster, we adapt faster, we fight harder, we hate longer. In the time it takes you to replace one generation, we will have raised 3, each one angrier than the last, each one more capable, each one more determined to make you suffer." The Supreme Warlord was silent. "Sign the treaty," the ambassador said. "Live in peace, or refuse and spend the rest of your existence looking over your shoulder waiting for the humans to come. We will always come. We will never stop. This is not a threat. It is a promise. It is who we are. It is what you made us." The Supreme Warlord looked at the other Velthari in the room. He saw fear in their eyes, fear of the small creature standing before them, fear of a species that had turned their greatest weapon, time itself, against them, fear of beings who would burn themselves to ashes just to light an enemy on fire. He picked up the document. "We agree to your terms," he said. The ambassador nodded. "Wise choice. We will be watching, we will be waiting, and we will remember, always. Do not give us a reason to return." She turned and walked back to her ship. The Velthari watched her go, this representative of a species they had once thought to conquer so easily. She did not look back. She did not need to. And in that moment, the Velthari understood something that would stay with them forever. The universe was not ruled by the strongest or the smartest. It was ruled by those who refused to quit, those who would burn themselves to ashes just to hurt their enemies, those who saw vengeance not as a response to injury, but as a way of life. The humans had taught them a lesson that no other species ever had. Sometimes, the most dangerous enemy is not the one who can destroy you. It is the one who is willing to be destroyed just to make you suffer. It is the one who will never let go. It is the one who remembers. And that was a lesson the Velthari would never forget. In the centuries that followed, peace held between humans and Velthari. It was not a warm peace. It was not built on friendship or mutual respect. It was built on fear. The Velthari feared what humans would do if provoked, and humans never let them forget that fear. Every human ship that passed through Velthari space carried the same symbol on its hull, a closed fist gripping a flame, a reminder, a warning, a promise that the rage still burned even after all these years. The crews of those ships wore the ash pendants of their ancestors. They spoke the names of the dead. They kept the memory alive. Other species watched and learned. They saw how the humans had stopped the unstoppable Velthari. They saw how vengeance, properly channeled, could become power. They saw how memory could become weapon. And whenever the Velthari saw that closed fist symbol, they remembered the small blue planet they had tried to conquer. They remembered the soldier who had charged them while smiling. They remembered the mother who had carried a bomb inside her body. They remembered the 5-year-old girl who had sworn revenge over her father's corpse. They remembered the children who had stared at them with hate instead of fear. And they remembered the most important lesson of all: never start a fight with humans. Because humans do not fight to win. They do not fight for territory or resources or glory. They fight for revenge. They fight because someone hurt them and they cannot rest until they have hurt them back. They fight until there is nothing left. And they never, ever forget.